Welcome back everyone to Steps with Nutrition. My name is Shelldon Breda, your registered dietitian and owner of Steps with Nutrition. Depending on your algorithm, you might have been getting quite a lot of women who store fat in their thighs produce healthier or smarter children. And the reason I put that in air quotes was that was going to be the topic for this month. But I thought, you know what, sometimes it's not about what you are storing. Where it's got to do with physically what is the chemistry of that which you are storing. So for this month, the topic is the quality of the fat that you are storing during pregnancy and the cognitive impacts that may have for your child. So I found this beautiful article, which I will cite in the show notes as per usual. The article's name is The Maternal Polyunsaturated Fatty Acids During Pregnancy and Offspring Brain Development in Children. Written in 2021 by Zou, El Marroun, Voortman, Hillegers, White and Tiemeier. I do apologize if I butchered those names. They are Dutch, so it's kind of like Afrikaans, but not really. And what they had done was, they went and they took a blood sample to figure out the concentration of your PUFA, your polyunsaturated fatty acid, in the mother halfway through pregnancy. Then they went and they did brain scans on the child that was born from the mom who they had tested at age average 9 to 10 years of age, and then those who were still available at age 12 went through what is known as a CETO cognitive development test, which comes from the Dutch Central Institute of Development. I tried to pronounce the full name, but it was terrible, so I did not do that. But it's known as your CETO testing. What they did accomplish is to find the links between the concentration of polyunsaturated fatty acids, your PUFAs, during pregnancy and the impact that has on your brain volume, the brain structure, your cognitive ability as a child. They found 1,553 mother-child diets, which basically means a mother and a child. They had filtered out the children that were not, or the groups that were not of Dutch origin, those that had twins, triplets, etc. And they had considered things such as your income, your diet, the specifically of the mothers, the level of educations the mother had, where the mother was staying. So this was a study where they had really thought through all of the confounding factors that could make a study like this so tricky, because any study that has human participants is very difficult to observe. It's very tricky, especially when you have children, pediatric groups. They are exceptionally vulnerable, and that is why there are so few studies done on these specific group. And in order to get 1,553 participants in your first stages is amazing, and to be able to get data which comes from such a large group is fantastic. And they wanted to see if mom had a really good concentration of PUFAs during pregnancy, did that change the cognitive abilities of their child? One, did it change the total gray matter volume in the brain of the child, or the total white matter volume in the brain of the child, or any of your microstructures within the child's brain? And why? Why would they want to see this? Why do they want to know if your PUFAs is playing a role? So PUFAs is the name for your omega-3, 6, 9s, of which your omega-3, which consists of your DHA and your EPA, your docosahexaenoic acid, and your eicosapentaenoic acid, there's a reason why we all just call it DHA and EPA, which is a crucial marine omega-3 fatty acid, is linked to brain health, eye, heart health, reducing inflammation. Omega-3 has been shown to reduce inflammation and is primarily found in your fatty fish. So you find it in your fatty fish, your mackerels, your tunas, your king clips. You also get it in seaweed. Interestingly enough, you get a small amount of it from your plant sources, which is your ALAs. In general, omega-3, which falls under PUFAs, is great for your health. We actually do need it. But PUFAs is a fact. And in the last 100 years or so, a lot of society's perception of beauty in women was the skinnier you were, the better. From as early as the 1920s, where the skinnier you were, the better you fit into your flapper dresses, being a size 0 or size 2, but to look like a runway model. And there is a slow and progressive shift that is focusing more on your health status, which includes your mental, your physical, your emotional, and your dietary health. How active can you be without being exceptionally achy the next day? Granted, you managing chronic diseases. At what age are you getting your non-communicable diseases, which are normally your diseases of lifestyle? Can we use our diet and our physical activity as interventions to prevent developing conditions such as hypertension, such as diabetes? And yes, we can. Then what is so great, which I have discussed in previous episodes, is omega-3 inflammation, anti-inflammatory properties from the omega-3s. And what a lot of the studies are showing is that a good omega-3 status helps prevent mental decline. A lot of the studies on omega-3 and anything that's got to do with the brain is targeted towards your elderly population. It is not targeted towards your pediatrics. And part of that is because it is so difficult to conduct studies on such a vulnerable group. Yes, your elderly is vulnerable, but children are even more so. So this article is honestly amazing because they got more than 1,000 participants, more than 1,000 diets, mom-child duo. They filtered it so well. They had considered stuff such as the quality of diet that the mom was getting, the income status of the mother, the genetic origin of the pair. They had considered stuff such as the income status, the level of education, all the way through to even the quality of the brain scans. So they went, and by the time the children needed to go for brain scans, they had actually done an entire mock-up so that the child would be at ease, so that the child knew what to expect in order to prevent a lot of stress, in order to prevent the likelihood of the child kind of moving around and distorting the images. And the findings are very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. As we mentioned, omega-3 is great. It is found in so many studies, especially in the last 20 years or so. And previous work had showed that lower maternal gestational plasma or concentration of omega-3, or if you had a poor omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, that those children at age 6 had more emotional problems and autistic traits. One of my previous episodes, which I'll also cite, has got to do specifically with omega-3 and management of ADHD, ADD, and autism-like traits. And in those separate studies, they had also found that omega-3 concentration helped manage the dysregulation, which helped prevent or reduce the severity or frequency of your emotional breakdowns. And the biological basis underlying this entire neurodevelopment outcomes related to PUFAs is kind of largely unknown. The general hypothesis is that PUFAs, specifically your EPA, your DHAs, and a couple of other ones which is not the focus of the study, are crucial components for the development of your central nervous system, and given their role in neuronal membranes, neurogenesis, and myelination. Basically, it forms part of your central nervous system, which forms part of your brain. And what they wanted to know is, are the concentrations of omega-3, specifically DHA, EPA, ALA, does that play a role on your cognitive ability if your mom had positive concentrations during pregnancy? But back to the study. They had considered and worked into their statistical analysis factors such as education levels of the mother, number of people working in the household, the income of the household, the diet. They had considered all of these factors. All the way they married all three in order to figure out, does the concentration of PUFA actually play a deal in your mental abilities? And what they had found was that yes it does. Moms who had a positive PUFA concentration during pregnancy were found to have children that had a greater brain volume with both your gray matter as well as your white matter. So their brain was literally more. There was more brain to be had at age 10 compared to the counterparts that had little or a low PUFA concentration during pregnancy. And the individuals that had a higher brain volume at age 10 scored better on your CETO testing at age 12. So when they married all of these facts together, they realized that the condition in which mom's fat stores are actually does play a role in the child's ability to develop from a mental perspective. And now we also know from other studies that the omega-3, which falls part of your PUFA category, also plays a role in your emotional development, specifically in your ability to regulate your emotions. So not only does it help with your left brain thinking, but interestingly enough, the study revealed that there were no changes in your microstructure. So although higher PUFA concentration results in higher brain volume and better cognitive development, it doesn't actually change the structure of your brain. And all the statistics in the study had showed a threshold. If the PUFA concentration was higher than the specific threshold, which they do mention in the study, that you no longer had those additional mental or cognitive benefits. On the contrary, if the ratio was exproportionate and your PUFA concentration was exceptionally high, it was actually detrimental. So it's not a situation of some is good, more is better, the most is the best. Trying to find a positive concentration, a healthy amount of PUFAs in your bloodstream, in your plasma, specifically during pregnancy, does indeed result in smarter children. And it would be interesting to find out why that threshold is there. Is it because purely based on the unknown parts of the PUFA component in our health? Because like I said earlier, a lot of the fats health in our brains is currently unknown. The hypotheses are there, but there isn't hard linked evidence. So is it a situation of after a certain amount our body just mutates the rest of it? Or does it have to do with other components of the sources of your PUFAs? For example, a lot of the omega-3 sources are your marine life. A lot of those sources tend to have the risk of being high in your accumulative substrates, substances such as lead, mercury, cadmium, and studies have shown that diets high in those specific substances have been linked with a mental decline. Maybe it's got to do with the specific region. They do disclose that the study wasn't done in any developing countries, so it might be different. But for now, the take home is a diet that's high in polyunsaturated fatty acids does result in smarter offspring. And if you would like me to discuss any specific topic, please feel free to pop me an email on stepswithnutrition@gmail.com or a DM on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then I will definitely reply and get back to you because I would love to hear what else you guys would like to hear about. Until next time, bye.